Welcome to the Lucidist podcast, where I explore everything because I believe everything is connected to everything else, and also because I believe in the infinite, unbounded potential that exists within each of us. I wanted to share, I haven't spoken much about some say the i-ching, excuse me, the Chinese, the i-ching, the jing has a few different names, has many different names. I haven't spoken much about it, but it came into my life about 5 or 6 years ago. And then a year or two ago, I did a kind of an intensive course study with it. Basically, just an oracle. There's so many ancient oracles, turtle shells and bones and seashells and coins and all manner of things, and people still do it. This one happens to be based on 8 fundamental elements. And I wanted to share something that happened this morning with it. There was a time when I used it quite regularly. I think I did it every morning for quite some time. Now I do it every once in a while. And my questions tend to be more general, less specific, more about, how do I find more wholeness or, more health or, reclaim joy, things like that, just kind of broader things, not about specific situations. And this morning I made a difficult decision. And so I went to it and I was feeling very disconcerted about it, about the decision I made. And so I didn't even ask a question. I just put in help. So there's an online one that I use, and that was the one I was using. So I just put in help, and rolled a coin, so to speak. And the answer I got was fascinating. So before I read to you the answer, I want to explain the decision I made this morning. So I belong to a few different communities, and I would say I don't feel like I actually belong to any of them, but there's a part of me that resonates with them. I don't know, maybe that's true for everyone. I definitely feel like it's true for me that I have yet to find a place where I truly resonate. Maybe it's because I've always thought maybe it was because I'm just have so many facets. It was interesting. I was talking to some friends that I sing with, and as we were talking, I mentioned a different friend that we also sing with, but this friend and we also are in part of this a little bit more of a private group of writers, poets and writers. And I happened to mention this to these other 2 gentlemen who we sing with, and they're like, I didn't know that. Like, I didn't know she did that. I didn't know you did that. And I was like, oh, yeah, well, I guess that's because that's, something that we share on the side, it's another facet that we share. But then I'll be talking to someone else mentioning, oh, yeah, I play classical guitar, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, I also do, amateur radio. I'm getting my license to do the amateur. And they're like, what? Like, I didn't know you did that. And I was thinking about it the other day, and somebody said to me, I don't understand. Why are you so busy? And I stopped and I thought about all the things, all the sort of things I have an interest in and the things I do. And I thought, it is the most bizarre collection of interests, I don't know. So I've always felt like maybe I've never quite felt like I belong anywhere because of that, there's so many different facets and aspects of me. And it reminds me of a Maya Angelou quote, and I'll get it wrong, so I hope she forgives me. But she said, when you realize that you belong nowhere, you are, I think something like you are finally home because you realize you belong everywhere. And I would say that that's probably a very close approximation of how I feel my journey has been. Finding that I don't actually belong anywhere. But then you realize you kind of just belong a little bit everywhere. Anyway, so there's this friend group. I enjoy the people. I've appreciated them. Don't fully feel like I belong, but again, like I said, it's not new. And was invited kind of to this small private getaway for a weekend, blah, blah, blah. And something in me, at first I was really excited and I felt very special, all the things. And then with time, I've just, as it's approaching, something in me was just like, it isn't right. It just like, there were a few things. There was part of me that was like, this is just not the place for you. I was nervous, and part of me was like, you actually sort of can't handle, you're not ready for this. It just isn't. And I couldn't even really come up with a clear, I could kind of make up some weird excuses with myself. And I actually let them know last week, like, hey, like, I'm thinking maybe this isn't the right place for me. And, there have been other things. And I mean, you can always kind of like pick out other people's problems and issues and make it about that. I decided not to do that. I decided to just try to stick with, should I, that barometer inside of me, should I go or should I not go? And not try to make it about sort of anyone's shortcomings, so to speak. Instead of saying, well, they're kind of, because I was like sort of looking for reasons like, well, they're kind of like that and they're kind of like that. And I don't know if I really appreciate that and da 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 da. And so I said, okay, well, let's just try to get clear. Like, should I go? Should I not go? Like, I should be able to know that, and don't necessarily have to sort of like point fingers. We can point fingers after we were clear about whether we should go or not. And so this morning, I just made the decision. I was like, I'm not going to go. If these are good friends and good people, they'll understand that I feel the need not to go and step away, and there'll be other invitations, other ways to engage. Like, this isn't going to like destroy our friendship or anything like that. So I sent that. It's been, I guess, a couple of hours since I sent it. No one's responded. And I kind of am starting to think no one will respond, which in and of itself is a little bit of an answer to me. But anyway, who knows? I don't understand. Text is a fascinating place. So a couple of hours have gone by. I went for a walk, and I'm listening to a book about communication, just like really trying to understand my role in communication and the ways that I can communicate what I'm actually trying to communicate, the ways I can be a better communicator, that whatever the outcome is that I'm looking for, I'm actually doing that, whether that is actually to communicate something, then I'm communicating it. Whether it's just for connection, then I'm connecting. If it's just for enjoyment, then I'm enjoying it. All the different forms of communication, so to speak. How can I do it better? Because I definitely can see times when I'm not doing it well, and I would like to do it well. It's important to me. Okay, so I get back from this walk, listening to this thing about communication, and I still feel so out of sorts about my decision. And so I put into the i-ching, I just put the word help. I thought, I don't even have a question. I don't even know. I don't even know what to ask. So I'm going to read to you what I got. So there were two, it's okay if you don't understand this. Those of you that do, great. But there were two moving lines, which means of the 6 lines that you get when you do this type of oracle, some of them can be moving, meaning one way to interpret that is like they're out of balance. And so it's telling you what's out of balance in those. And one of them, the out of balance is it says you hold together with the wrong people. You hold together with the wrong people. And these are kind of Chinese translations, so you have to sort of, and they're very, very old. So kind of, interpret that, in a general way. The other line that was moving said, he finds no head for holding together. He finds no head for holding together. So now I'm going to read a few things, some of this response that was given. And again, I just entered the word help. So it says you've reached out with the simple word, help. And the oracle has responded with wisdom about connection, timing, and discernment. Your current situation reveals a critical moment concerning relationships and alliances. Hexagram 8, holding together, indicates you're in a phase where unity and cooperation are essential. Yet the changing lines warn of challenges in how you're approaching these connections. The 6 at the top means you're entering situations without proper preparation or understanding of what's truly required. I'm going to pause there. That really resonates with me because something in me, when I would think about going on this weekend getaway with these people, I kept thinking, I'm not sure I'm not ready for this. I'm not sure I can handle it. Meaning the dynamics that go on in the group are tricky, to say the least. And I was like, I honestly don't think I can navigate it well. And I feel like in the end, I'll either do harm or be harmed. So that was interesting when it said that. You may be entering situations without proper preparation or understanding of what's truly required. And then no head for holding together. That was one of the moving lines. It means you're lacking the foundation, the beginning wisdom, or perhaps you're arriving too late to genuinely participate in something meaningful. This speaks to entering commitments half-heartedly or without full comprehension of what's needed. Even more telling is the 6 in the 3rd place. You're connecting with the wrong people. This isn't about judgment. It's about alignment. Not everyone in your orbit belongs in your inner circle. The oracle reveals you may be allowing proximity or convenience to create intimacy where true resonance doesn't exist. I want to read that last one again because that's sort of how I felt. The oracle reveals you may be allowing proximity or convenience to create intimacy where true resonance doesn't exist. So this group, it's easy. They're close, it's convenient, like we already have this sort of built-in shared thing that we do, but I don't feel like there's a true resonance there. And it scared me to go spend, a weekend in a more intimate setting with these people because I would either have to fake a resonance with them or let them see that we weren't in resonance. And generally when you show people that you're not in resonance with them, it doesn't go well. Then it continues, this false closeness prevents you from finding your genuine allies, those who share your authentic path. The transformation underway is one of discernment. These changing lines are pushing you toward clarity about who and what deserves your commitment. The misfortune that's mentioned isn't punishment, but the natural consequence of misaligned energy. which leads to exhaustion, disappointment, and confusion. So, and that's a little bit, it's interesting because that's how I felt around this relationship, that there's something that's misaligned and I couldn't actually tell you what. But I have felt disappointment and confusion around this whole situation. And it's felt exhausting just to try to get to a point where I could make this decision, not to go and to let it be what it is instead of what I was hoping it was. So I just wanted to share this. There are times when I feel like the universe, whatever kind of thing we're living in, God, whatever, I don't know what you call it. I don't know if people would call it Oracle God, but whatever energies are here, sometimes the answers I get from the I-ching are it's bizarre because I literally put in the word help. It knows nothing, right, it knows nothing about what's going on in my life. I just put in the 4-letter word help, and I literally get the most perfect answer for helping me sort of make peace with my decision. I think what's so hard about this decision is that I feel like it will never happen. It's like, I think if I've tried in so many times to fit into so many communities or spaces or places where I didn't really, and it wasn't really a place where there was true welcoming and belonging and approval. So I am starting to believe it just doesn't exist, at least for me. And I more and more, I think I'm letting go of the idea of finding it and maybe just settling on it doesn't exist for me, and to just stop trying to find it. And people say, oh, that's probably when it's going to show up. Maybe not. I think about my mom, and she was never able to find a place to fit in. She was a lot of energy, not the easiest person. And, I can see, while I'm not my mom, I can see some of that in myself. And, maybe there are certain people that we just don't quite fit anywhere. And instead of constantly searching for that place, I think I'm leaning more toward just not looking for it. Because I don't know. I think it'll find me or it won't. I think I've tried so many times to create it, or I found a place where I thought I could create it, and I don't know. It's very mysterious to me. I just very much feel like I don't have what it takes at this time to be able to engage with these people in that way. I do feel like I'm lacking some kind of understanding, and that maybe I am coming in too late. These people have known each other for a long, long time. They have a long history, and it's just not the place for me. And I also appreciated the note about not everyone in your orbit belongs in your inner circle. I sometimes forget that. I think that because there's a proximity and a convenience, that's the people you should create intimacy with. But that is not true and it's not wise. I think that intimacy happens when there actually is a true resonance, and that isn't always with the people that you see often. Um, just I feel like this is kind of a reminder that just because I see people often, that isn't frequency can lead to a relationship and to intimacy and resonance, but it isn't just a given. Just because you see someone more often doesn't mean you have more resonance with them. You may share a common hobby or even a common goal, but that is not the resonance of sort of that inner circle, that inner sanctuary or that inner garden within each of us. So I feel like I have so much to learn as far as community, connection, communication, all of that is concerned. And I feel like I'm just starting. I feel like I am just starting, which I'm like, well, it's very likely I'm more than halfway done with my life. And so to just be starting on these like sort of foundational things is a little bit funny. And I'm just pausing here as I'm talking to also write community, connection, communication. I think if you listened to my last podcast, I was mentioning my therapist stepping away from the workforce, and so I'm starting with a new one. And I wasn't sure what I was going to start with. And as I just said those three words, I was like, oh, there they are. You are starting more than halfway through your life journey. You're going to start on a new task, and that is community, connection, and communication. And remembering that, well, I think one of the big things in this reading for me is, and I knew it, and I'm so glad that I was aware of it, and I'm so glad I got this reminder. Something in me was like, this isn't the place for you. You're not ready. Like you could not handle this situation. It would not go well. I think that the lack of resonance, I think I may have been triggered by certain things and said or behaved in ways that were really, like I said, been either hurtful or harmful to me or to others. I think well, I know it definitely takes to be in a space where you're not in resonance with people and handle it well, especially for multiple days and, all staying in the same place. That I'll admit I don't yet have those skills, which is funny because I've done this before. I mean, I've done weekend getaways with different friend groups and blah, 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 blah. And I would say it's been fine. So it's interesting to me that I don't have the skills. And I think, well, did I lose skills? And I don't think it's that I lost skills. I think that I'm somehow entering a phase where the way I need to show up, or the way that I now feel required to show up, the kind of integrity that I have, I do not have the skills to show up with that kind of integrity in places where there isn't resonance. I've never said those words before, so I'm going to say them again. The way I feel called to show up today with integrity is going to require a new skill set, because I will need to show up with integrity in places where there isn't resonance. So it isn't that I haven't been able to do it in the past, it's that I haven't ever done this with this level of integrity. And so I do need time to try to understand, how do I maintain my integrity in spaces where there isn't resonance, and not confuse frequency with intimacy, not confuse proximity with community. My definition of community is not people that I see all the time. I have a different definition for that. It has much more depth and meaning for me. My definition for connection is not that we say hi every week and chit chat. My definition of communication is not that we speak politely. All of these community connection and communication for me require an exchange that has the word that comes to mind is a strength and authentic strength, or strong authenticity. Probably, a play of those words, but that the exchange is that we're both, I go back to my previous, that we're both heard, held, and honored. We're both with each other, ourselves, and with each other. So for me, community is not, I would not say, if I was going to the same church every week, well, that's my community. I would not call that a community. It depends on how I'm actually connecting with those people and communicating with those people. So what I'm saying is frequency and proximity do not equal community for me. Frequency, proximity do not equal connection. Frequency, proximity do not equal communication. And for me, true intimacy requires this authentic, strong exchange. And strong is not like, you don't have to be strong with each other, but that the exchange has strength in it. So the word is strength, not strong, which for me there's a difference. So that there's a strength in our connection, there's a strength in our communication. That strength leads us to create a community. It's funny, I ask a lot of myself. And the funny thing is I don't set out to ask this of myself. Like, I don't sit down and think, what's the hardest thing I could do? I just am called. It was funny, I heard Tony Robbins on his podcast. He was on the Diary of a CEO recently. And he was like, I don't want to hear about, I can't remember what he said, but I don't want to hear whatever. I want to know, like, what drives you. And I thought, I don't even know if this is what drives me. I feel like I am being driven. Like, it's like this intrinsic thing is driving me toward community, connection, communication, which I've been talking about for years. And I feel like I'm now 5 years after I've been thinking about it. And like, now I'm finally like standing on the doorstep and I'm like, I haven't even started. Talk about something for years before you can even get to the door and knock and say, is it open? Can I come in? I feel like I'm literally just on the doorstep. I haven't even knocked. I'm just like, okay, where's the knocker? Is it even open? Will someone answer? Can I actually come into this space? Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy. So I feel like what I'm trying to create and what I feel driven, called, inspired, all those passionate, what I'm willing to commit to, is this idea that I'm not just, that my integrity doesn't allow me to say, because I see you every week in a certain place, I call you community. We may do things together. That to me is not a community. We may do things together. That to me is not connection. We may do things together. That to me is not communication. My definition of those things is very different than we do things together. And I feel like if I were to bring this to these people and say, this is what I am looking for, I think more than one or two would probably shake their head. Or, yeah, I don't think it would be, oh yeah, I don't think it would be yes, and I'm here. I don't think that would be the response. Maybe from one or two, I'm not sure. But the other thing I love about this moment and about this I-ching reading was that it both showed me the way that it showed me that I wasn't prepared. And I kind of felt that. I did. I felt that. So I'm glad I felt that. And it's important for me to see that, to be like, yeah, you aren't prepared, that there are things you need to do before you would be able to be okay in this situation. And not just me be okay, but that other people are also okay with me in this situation. I was concerned on both sides. I was concerned for me, and I was also concerned for them. I was worried that, like I said, something would happen that would trigger me in a way that I would be more forceful or, defensive or whatever than I needed to be, and would offend someone or hurt someone or blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, and I have no desire to hurt anyone or be hurt or cause harm. And so I've realized having the discernment to step away when I know I don't have that, so important. And I think it's actually crucial to building trusting relationships. And that may, over time, these people, which I think I'm not sure how they're feeling, but nobody seems very warm about my decision. But they may with time realize, well, but at least she says what she thinks and feels, and she probably does it for a good reason. Meaning, I think that I'm much more trustworthy for what I've done today than if I had gone kind of knowing that I might not be in a place where I could do what I could be in a good place. And then the other thing I like is that, so that's my piece, right? I'm not ready. I'm not prepared. I'm not yet capable. And then the other piece is just like, and sometimes people aren't just your people. Not everybody's your people. And there's nothing wrong with that, other than not everybody's your people. And just because you see them all the time doesn't mean, you open the garden gate, is always how I call it. I think we all have this inner garden, this inner sanctuary. And to me, it's always a garden. It's a gorgeous garden. And, of course, I've always used the analogy of boundaries. I've always said, like, there's the white picket fence. Like some people also, and outside of the white picket fence, you have like the roses, the prickly roses. And outside of that, you have like the thorny bushes. And outside of that, you have like the steel wall. So people slowly make their way in, past the steel wall, and then the thorny bushes, and then, the roses, which are still kind of prickly. And then they get to the white picket fence, the short little white picket fence. Like anyone could step over it. They get in that, they could definitely step over it and invade your space, but you trust them enough not to, they've made it into the white picket fence. And it's up to you to open the gate and say, okay, I'm going to open the gate and you can come in. And this is, for me, is intimacy. You can come in and see my sanctuary, my inner garden, my inner life, my world. And so, yeah, not just because someone makes it to the white picket fence, you trust them enough to sort of see you in a way that, but not come all the way in. It's just I remember, I will never forget the dream I had when I was dating someone who was sociopathic. And that's how this whole kind of imagery started, is I suddenly was in my inner sanctuary, this beautiful garden, and I'd never been there before, but I just knew in the dream, and I was wide awake in it. It was like this very bizarre lucid dream. I was wide awake and I was like, oh, this is like my protective, this is like my inner sanctuary. This is like my garden. It was like the most beautiful garden. It was night. It was also night. So it was dark, but I knew it. And I was walking around and there was this enormous, I cannot describe to you, of course, in the dream, this enormous wolf. And at first I was terrified of her. And then I realized she was protecting me and she was prowling around and trying to keep something out because it was trying to get in and it was going to destroy me. And it terrified me. And I kept having this recurring dream. And with time, I realized it became more and more like intense. And I did make the mistake of letting this person into my inner sanctuary. And man, did they destroy me. So I've learned that you do have to be pretty careful who you let into that final space. Yeah, because it takes so long to rebuild it. It's taken me so long to rebuild that garden, to understand what I lost. I'm starting to think, I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong, but I wonder sometimes if some of it is never reclaimed. It's like when you regrow anything, it's not what it was, right? You've regrown it. It's new. It's something different. It could still be a rose bush. It could still be a white rose bush, but it's not the right white rose bush it was. Like something's never been quite the same. And I'm not sure if it ever will be. I've told myself for many, many years that it's going to be. It's going to be. It's going to be. And I think as I'm getting closer, I'm realizing it's going to be different. It will still be beautiful. It is never going to be what it was. And that loss makes me sad. There were some big losses that I haven't been able to reclaim. So who knows? Life isn't over yet. But this whole i-ching drawing this morning was just fascinating. Like I said, I just put in the word help. It knew nothing about the decision I'd made this morning. And so to get that reading, that reminds me that, yes, I knew that I was not capable at this time of holding my integrity in an intimate space with people where I don't have resonance. I knew that. And I'd also been wondering if these were the right people, to let into my inner space. Because if I'm gonna take time off work, if I'm gonna spend all this time and energy and blah blah blah, to go do this thing, I want to build community and connection and communication. And if that's not happening, I probably don't need a getaway. I probably can just stay. And not that getaways aren't great and all the fun and whatever. That's just, and I've had lots of those in the past, and they're so wonderful. And here's the thing: it's like I'm not dissing any of it. It's just not where I'm at, and that's the biggest thing, is me respecting. This is where I'm at. This is where I'm at, and I'm just not going to fight my journey in that way. This is where I'm at. This is what I feel called to do. I don't have the capacity to do this other thing. And just let that be okay. And so much of this podcast, if you're still listening, I don't know, are you cleaning? I don't know why you still be listening, but so much of this podcast I know it's me making peace with my decision. Because it is so hard, again, to step away from something that isn't right. I mean, I kind of ask myself, how many times do you step away from something that isn't right? Because it's just never right. For me, I just feel like it's never right. It's never going to be right. And I'm just always going to be, blah, blah, blah. So I try to remind myself all the other little ways that I've been listening, and really, really amazing things are happening. And so I'm like, yeah, but look at, you listened to that and that happened, and you listened to that over there and that happened, and you did that and then that. I mean, so there are some times where the dominoes, other areas in my life where the dominoes are stacking up perfectly. And I just kind of go, wow, that's incredible. That is just, those are like lining up. I mean, it's like it's synergy to its fullest. It's amazing. I don't see those as well. I sort of overlook them, or they just seem inconsequential. And I very focused on the dominoes that all fell down. Like, oh, look at all the ones that these all just fell down. And I'm like, okay, yes, they just all fell down. Try to look at all the other ones that are lining up and standing up, and all of them are all go in place. And loss and death. I recently ordered a book. I'll tell you about it when I get it. It's by the Swedish Tomas Transtromer. I'm sure that's not how you say it. I don't speak Swedish. But it's all about death. And he wrote a lot of it. Did he have a stroke or a heart attack? He had something. He almost died. And I was like, when I saw it, I was like, it has my favorite quote, which I talked about in my last podcast. I walked slowly into myself through a forest of empty suits of armor. I've had that quote on my phone for over a decade. I walked slowly into myself through a forest of empty suits of armor. Tomas Transtromer. And so I've looked him up before, and something in me was just like, you should get one of his books. So he has this book, it's all about death. And I remember laughing because I thought I learned all about death, 20 years ago when I was getting my divorce, and like learning how to deal with death and loss and change and blah, 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 blah. And as I was sitting here going, I can't believe I'm getting another book about death. And I asked myself, I'm like, what is life? Like, life is literally a constant death. Like, it literally is a constant death. And I just thought, oh my gosh, I just wanted to be done with death so I could live. And I'm realizing that I just really need to learn death again, as though I actually fully learned it the first time. So anyway, just death. This life is just a constant death, and I still don't get it. Many times I remind myself, I still think that my life is not a constant death, but I know it is. So there you go. I don't know if anyone ever decides to play with oracles. I know people use all kinds of oracle cards and whatnot. And they aren't always this clear. They can often be difficult for me to interpret. So when I put in the word help today, I was like, I think this is just going to be just a crazy nonsense. So to get something so clear and so precise about the exact situation was really beautiful. Really beautiful. So I wanted to share that. And I also wanted to share that we all have different definitions and levels and ideas of what community, connection, and communication are. And knowing your own, I think it's a really great place to start, because I've realized mine are so much thicker, deeper, stronger, richer. Like I just require more than most people. It seems like most people are willing to go with the flow. Um, and I just feel driven, called, inspired to create something that's more. So, best of luck to all of you and take care of yourselves. Bye bye.